Okay. Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to our 181 CPR Urban Workshop. And today we have Dr. Pushpa Pathak, who will be delivering talk titled Mofussil No More, 4 Decades of Transformation of a Small Town Dhampur, India, Preliminary Findings from the Field, which is based on her longitudinal study of Dhampur, which is a town in Uttar Pradesh. So while most of us present in the room might be knowing Pushpa very well and very closely, but let me complete the formalities. And I will introduce her formally to all those who do not know or the wider participants. Dr. Pushpa Pathak is a senior visiting fellow at CPR, New Delhi. She has extensive experience of working in the field of urban development in India and other developing and post-conflict countries. She has held senior positions at premier institutions like National Institute of Urban Affairs, the World Bank Water and Sanitation Program, South Asia, UN, Habitat, Afghanistan, and School of Planning and Architecture. As a senior urban advisor, she was engaged in post-conflict urban reconstruction and development in Afghanistan. Her broad area of professional interest is the promotion of inclusive and sustainable urban development. She has published in reputed journals and edited volumes. And Dr. Pathak has a master's degree in geography from Kanpur University and PhD in regional development from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. She did her postgraduate research at Banaras Hindu University, Cambridge University, UK, and has been a fellow at a special program in urban and regional studies at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA. So Pushpa, you know the drill. You have 40 to 45 minutes to talk. And after the talk will be followed by Q&A. And we all can ask questions directly to Pushpa. Those who are present online, they can type their questions in the chat box. We can read it out and you can ask it directly. Thank you. Over to you, Pushpa.
Thank you, Rama. And welcome to all who have come today. Some new friends and colleagues and some very, very old friends and colleagues. But a very warm welcome to my mentor, Professor Mathur. I started working with him as a young researcher. So I am today partly what he taught me. So if I make mistakes, hold him responsible. And also a very special welcome to Mr. Saurabh Gupta. He is an entrepreneur from Dhampur in one of the industries. People like him cooperated with us. That is why we are able to do this study. So very big thank you to you, Saurabh. So can we start the presentation? Anas? Thank you. So, you know, the title Mofussil No More, 4 Decades of Transformation of Small Towns, Town Dhampur in India, I have chosen after thinking a lot. And I learned from other urbanists that if you take a catchy word or a catchy title, like you hear all kinds of urbanism, tactical urbanism, post-colonial urbanism, speculative urbanism, and so on and so forth. So I thought I should also find a catchy title and make my book and talk interesting. I will explain later on what does it mean. So for the moment, I would start with next, not going next. Next slide. I should be able to do it from here. My Cooper. Okay. No, yes, yes. So I will spend a very short time on the conceptual background, but I have kept it here in case there are questions. So the idea of small towns has been changing in the past 5 decades or even more. In the colonial times, the small towns like Dhampur became municipalities, but didn't have tremendous growth potential. And they were outside the presidencies of Kolkata, Madras, and Bombay. I have used the colonial term, with limited growth potential. And in the literature, we have seen that what appeared in 1950 to 70, the literature on small towns said that they are stagnating and not growing. There are variations, of course, but this is a general perception. In 80s onwards, the small towns started being visualized as growth centers, growth poles, market towns, and as a tool for supporting regional development. And in many developing countries, this policy is still in practice while supporting small towns. But 2000 onwards, small towns were taken to indicate dispersed urban transformation, autonomous from metropolis, vibrant hubs of trade and production, and capable of providing wide range of goods and services, not only to the town, but also to the surrounding villages. And the policy perspective also changed along with the perception of small towns. So earlier, whatever growth was supported in small towns, it was with the objective of checking migration to big cities. But now, more and more, infrastructure development for improving the productivity and quality of life of these towns are being implemented. So there is a certain change. The theories on small towns have also changed over time, from Christeller's central place theory and Peru's growth pole, which have informed policies in global South, from say 30s onwards. It still dominates. This idea still dominates. But of late, the idea of planetary urbanization, that means the whole world is urban, and there's one urban fabric, and all settlements are linked to it. Recently, my colleagues, Partho Mukhopadhyay, who is sitting at the back, he always likes to sit at the back. So okay. It's okay. They have put forward theory of subaltern urbanization, which has 3 characteristics. It is independent of metropolis. It is in its interaction, it's decentralized and hierarchicalized. And they see small towns as sites of production and innovation. Irrespective of what kind of theoretical background we look at, all these theories put significant emphasis on their role in regional development. So that's the common thread running through all these. Other than this, I'm not going to talk about anything conceptual. We will jump to Dhampur. It is a longitudinal study. I studied Dhampur for my PhD thesis, and my thesis was titled Industrial Linkages and Regional Development. And at that time, small towns were smaller, so I wanted to choose a city between 50,000 and 30,000 population in an agricultural setting, at least about 100 kilometers away from a class 1 town, nearest class 1 town, with some industrial activity. And my assumption was that agro industries will have more interaction with rural areas. So we went through a selection process, and we selected Dhampur finally with some social connections to have an entry in the town. objective of the longitudinal study is to see the changing growth dynamics and interdependence of this small town with other settlements in regional space. And my doctoral thesis provides the earlier database, and it is expected to fill a knowledge gap. And STs is small towns, it's not septic tanks or sewage treatment plants. I'm sorry about that abbreviation. But the results are also expected to inform national urban policy and program formulation in future. Now, we go back to the why I said Dhampur is not Mofussil anymore. And here, I think a little bit of history would help. That helped Dhampur to become not a Mofussil town quite early in its history. So in 1844, Tehsil headquarters were shifted from Sherkot, along with the Sherkot ruling family, which brought prestige, and also a kind of activities associated with the large families movement, which also means economic activities. 1866 was the municipality established. 1884, Dhampur was connected by railway line. I am not sure at that time Dhampur connected with which station, but at the moment it connects with Haldwani on one side and Moradabad on the other side. And there is still no direct rail connection to Delhi, and many people have demanded that that connection would help in the growth of the city. But Dhampur's population grew at a very high rate in between 21-31 at 36% or so. And that is because that's the time when Dhampur sugar mill construction started. And whole lot of construction workers, families came, and then established came up to service them. So that was the first growth trigger in terms of supporting larger number of economic activities coming to town. And that process continues today. Industrial and trade expansion and diversification is going on even today. So it is not an ordinary small town. This is what I want to say by not a Mofussil town. So I'm sorry, it's in Bijnor district. I should have said that. I thought everybody knows where Dhampur is. I'm sorry, yes. When I arrived there on 13th February 1979, first time, it was already a compact little smart town. It was not Mofussil. It had a population of about 25,000 inhabitants in 2 square kilometer area. There were very well-defined streets of different kinds, like Lohian for Bartanwala, Bandukchiyan, where actually Bandukchiyan was made, and so on and so forth. And the center of the city had mixed land use with shops and workshops at the ground floor and residential residences upstairs. So most of the buildings were 2 stories, not so fancily made at that time. And some streets were solely residential streets, which had 2-story houses. I think most of the plots here are about 100, 150 square yards, and the buildings are stuck to each other. There were no hotels. There were few lodges where traveling business people stayed. There was a Basant Cinema Hall, very interesting story about Basant Cinema. It started with roving cinema be shown on a screen, and then they found a place where they made it permanent. So we met the person, Sardar Avatar Singh, who used to actually show films. He is quite old, but he gave wonderful interview to us. They used to go around the district showing films wherever they felt like. So they will say, this film is coming. Somebody will go and say, announce it on the speaker, on a rickshaw, and people will turn up there and they will see a film. At that time, cycle rickshaw was the only mode of public transport. And sugar mill was about 5 kilometers away from Dhampur town. And it continues to be there. there is something between me and Dhampur. So again, on 18th February 2024, I arrived there the second time, along with my team. Shubham is right there, and Anna, who is not here at the moment, she's joined online. She has a marriage in the family, so she couldn't come. So it had become a very bustling mid-sized town with residential and commercial development taking place all along 4 highways that are emanating from the town. There are also large colonies, apartment blocks, and bungalows being constructed outside the town by subdivision of agricultural land. And this is quite common to many Indian cities, that urban development takes place before it's planned and before it is included in urban boundary. There are now 2 mid-sized hotels for business travelers, Rama Galaxy and Rama Residency and Goel Galaxy, and a very fancy big hotel. It's called Eurasia Palace. Yes, yes. And another important observation was that earlier I didn't see many women in public places. And now you see women everywhere. They are going to school, they are going to college, they even go to restaurants, and women alone going out and eat, which was unheard of before, but there were no restaurants. Anyway, women's education in this region was introduced much earlier for some reason, and I think here the royal family set up the school for girls in Dhampur, and then RSM college was also established, both for men and women. And now there are so many colleges and private institutions, and women go for professional skills like MBA, medicine, chartered accountants, and so on. So women's education is, even in the villages, very visible. And now there is a clear distinction between the compact core town and a newly developed urban periphery. Still, the urban periphery is not included in the urban boundary. The area of Dhampur town has not been expanded for a very long time. So the core town is building upwards from 2-story houses. It has become 4-story houses and 3 or 4 very fancy houses. And families are multiplying and becoming bigger, and population is increasing. We do not have numbers on migration. Migration data is not available to us since even 2011 census. So we don't know where the population is coming from and where it's settling down. So I don't want to talk about it. Surely now there are no cycle rickshaws. E-rickshaws have replaced cycle rickshaws as the public mode of transport, and it is called mini metro service. And fancy names on each e-rickshaw, there would be a fancy name, so-and-so's mini metro service, Sohail's mini metro service, or Ravi ki Amma ka mini metro service, and so on. So there are very, very interesting names. And sugar mill is not outside the city anymore. So the entire area, the 5-kilometer range, is fully developed. I think Maharani Bagh and Rani Bagh colony and your frozen goods is also there, have come up with very nice houses. So just to give you an idea, I said earlier there were no hotels. So where did I stay? I stayed in that house. I'm standing in the room, in front of the room where I stayed. And this was house of one of the person who introduced me to Dhampur, his aunt's house, Mrs. Rampiari Devi. At that, she was over 60. She used to live with her relatives, and she used to keep students as PG in her house, because students used to come to study, even girl students. For high school 12th, there were no hostels, so they would stay with families. And the PG system, which has become very popular in big cities now, was in place in Dhampur in the 70s. So I stayed in that house, And that man, Rajiv Kumar, is the grandson of Ram Pyari Devi. And he showed me the house around. It's changed hands, but they have not broken it down. So when we went to Dhampur in 2024, so that's the palace where we stayed. And this is our Dhampur home. It's called Eurasia Palace. It's very, very fancy. It compares very well with 3 to 4 star hotel in Delhi. Very fine, very posh. So times have changed. I will not go into literature review in great detail. I just say that there are large number of small town studies on various aspects of urban development, but there are very few studies on small towns' relationship with their surrounding and regional space. So that's one gap, and there's hardly any longitudinal study of any urban centers in India, small, big, large. Only 2 studies I came across was one by Barbara Harris White on Arni in Tamil Nadu, and the second one is on Palanpur in Moradabad. And this is although looking at a village, but it's looking at the other from the other side, relationship of a village with nearby towns. So it's a reverse order, but it all the same explains the relationship. Both studies are very valuable for my study. I had started, I have 7 questions for my research and for ultimately the book. But at the moment, I'm going to only deal with 4 questions. The rest of the 3 questions we have not dealt with. So these are, how has the industrial structure of Dhampur changed over the 4 decades under consideration? What kind of workforce do these enterprises have? And how the technological and spatial linkages have changed over time? And what is the impact of backward linkages of industries located in Dhampur on the economy of these neighboring villages? So these are the 4 questions roughly. I will very, very broadly, I will try to answer in today's talk. Very briefly, we have expanded the scope of the study. And we are now doing, other than secondary data analysis, extensive primary surveys, a repeat of all the surveys that we did in the 70s. And this includes industrial survey of most units in Dhampur with 3 or more hired workers and located within 5-kilometer radius of the town. Then second, industrial entrepreneur survey of the surveyed units. For instance, we interviewed Saurabh's father, Shri Narendra Gupta ji. He is a very senior, prominent citizen of the city, very well known as Babuji. And we went there right in the beginning when we started survey, and he introduced us to so many people and opened so many doors for us. So when we arrived there, people don't trust us, and we go there with our files and so on, and people think, oh, why do they want so much information from us? But an introduction helps. So, and then we have done industrial labor survey. We tried to do 10% sample at both points of time. Then we have also taken 2 villages in the vicinity to see the relationship of the town with the neighboring villages. And there we have done a village profile and household survey. Again, we have done 10% household survey there. And these villages are called Sarthal Madho and Aladinpur Bhodi. In addition to these structured surveys, we have done a whole lot of interviews with prominent citizens of coming from different fields, like doctors, like other than industrialists, shop owners, restaurant owners, and banquet hall owners. These are new economic activities that are coming up in a small town. Banquet halls are so many in a small town. We were amazed to see that. So Shubham, my colleague, has written an op-ed on banquet halls in Dhampur, and it's very interesting. I think it's posted on our website. If not, it should be. It should be very soon. And we also added some recall questions because between this 4-decade period, We lost some information because the gap is too long and we don't have data. So we have asked people, what do you remember about this? Or do you have any impression what happened at that time? So there are some recall questions in our interview. So just to give you a visual impression of Dhampur town, this is the center of the town. Each city, each small town or big has some kind of a chalk. The center of the town from where roads emanate going to different parts of the town. So in Dhampur, it's called Bhagat Singh Chowk. I think it was built soon after independence, and it has been renovated sometime in 70s, and renovation was going on even when we were there. So it's just about completed. And then we have narrow streets with shopping facilities downstairs on the ground floor and residences on the top floor. Some of those are changing now because people who have money are moving out to the periphery to bigger houses. And they're making this area much more commercial. And that's happening in many cities in India. The population growth of Dhampur has been slow but steady between 1901 and 1991. Only big growth change was in 1931, as I said earlier, and that was because of the construction of sugar mill. Growth rate somewhat became slower between 2001 and 11, and I do not have any explanation for this slowing down of the growth rate. I do not know what happened. So we have to ask this question next time we go to Dhampur. But everybody we talk to, all the people who live there and know the city very well, they said that slow growth rate is no more. And the town is growing at a much faster rate now. And they expected it to be of a town of about 80,000 people, 90,000 people around the time we were there. So it's an estimate. There is no official basis, but even the district magistrate whom we had met, Mr. Ankit Agarwal, said, oh, Dhampur is now 1 lakh population. So I do not know whether he's looking at 1 lakh population within the municipal area or municipal area and the adjacent periphery. Just a very small map of Dhampur. The shape of Dhampur town has remained more or less the same as it was in the 70s. And the area has also not grown too much. It's now, I think, from 2 square kilometers, it has become about 3 square kilometers. Density has increased for sure. And in the roads that are going, connecting other cities, very large establishments have come up, which are showrooms, restaurants, and on Kalagarh Road, these are all hospitals and clinics. It's called the Doctor Street. A whole range of medical facilities, you name it, is there, and it caters to the entire region's population coming here. So the future growth of Dhampur town is based on trade and new kind of services. And that's a change that we have noticed this time. While I move on now to the industrial structure of Dhampur, so I'd like to share with you that the 2 most important group of industries in Dhampur at both points of time were sugar and khansari and metalworks. Metal is the traditional industry of this region. Dhampur makes, artisan in Dhampur make iron pots and implements and household goods, whereas Moradabad, adjacent district, specializes in brass. So there is district-wise specialization of industrial production based on skills of the local population, local artisans.
What district it is Dhampur?
Bijnor bhai. नहीं है अच्छा So, but before I share the story on industrial structure, I tell you how difficult it was to get an authentic list of industries located in Dhampur town. And this is because of several reasons, and I would like to share with you, because many people here are researchers and young researchers who may face similar difficulties if they go to field. So earlier record, now Dhampur Industrial Office, it's called Industries Office, has become digitized, and they have computers, and they have a portal where you can register. So you don't go and register a paper form. So that portal is called Udyam portal, where industrialists can register themselves. And with that registration, they can go on to get other facilities like bank credit and so on. So Udyam registration has started, and the earlier data was non-digitized, and there has been no system or no effort to reconcile the two. So you can get old list, and then you sit down and compile. You get the new list, and you have to figure it out, what industries are located there. There is also a time gap between closing of an industry and industry being deleted from the official list. Sometimes it's never deleted. And sometimes newly established units are not entered in the record for a long time. So there is a time gap. And Udyam portal's challenge is that it provides district level data, not segregated by rural or urban or by settlements. So you have to find a way by talking to people. We looked at pin codes, and tried to figure out data of Dhampur town. But we also found that many industries, which are larger, they register, do split it up in several units and register separately. So when we go there, actually it's 5 units, but 1 industry. So it's, I think they want to keep the number of workers down and don't want to give employment benefit, etc. So then we went around with our list in 2 visits, and we talked to prominent citizens and said, could you please tell us which of these industries are working and where it is? Or do you know any other industry that works around here? And that's where Saurabh's father was very helpful. He sat down with the list systematically and said, check, no, check, no. So he really revised the list and said, now you go and have a look. Plus, you have a look at these as well, because these are industries that work here. That's interesting, no? You didn't know your father had this skill. And then once we had the list, and it took us 2 visits to Dhampur. Last year, we used to, Anna is not here, Anna, Shubham and I, we call ourselves Dhampur warriors. Every month, we were in Dhampur for 10 to 15 days. So we stayed in that big hotel, fancy hotel. We got fed up of the food in that hotel. That's a different story. So when we went to do field work, we came across hesitation. People didn't want to share. We told them what all we want. They didn't want to share that much information with us. It was understandable because they didn't know how this information will be used. So, but when I told them, we are writing a book, I'm writing a book, I have done PhD here, I came here when I was younger, and 2 people actually recognized me from previous visit after all these years. So the idea of a book appealed to many people, and they took pride in it that their book is being written on their town. And they all said, are we going to get a copy? I said, sure. So one very enterprising young entrepreneur who makes, Kartik Ahmed, makes e-rickshaws, said, can my children read this book? I said, oh, no, it is not a children's book. It's book for PhD students. So he understood that it is a book for very educated people, not for common citizens. So after I introduced the idea of the book and they looked at me, I looked like an old woman. I couldn't do any harm to them. But if Shubham went alone, they would turn him around in no time because they thought he has come from some government office for inquiry. So he was successful only when I will slowly walk behind him and say, Madam, bhi aayi hai. Acha, So, the idea of the book and my age, I think helped. And we got full cooperation from all the industries, all the citizens, wherever we went. Our car would enter or we would walk. They said, "Acha bhai, Delhi wali team aa gayi, chai bhai mangwa lo." So then everybody knows us in Dhampur and we go everywhere and we talk to people quite openly. So it resulted in getting significant support from the industrialists. And we have interviewed 39 of the 51 currently working industrial units. Only 12 have refused to participate in the survey. And we couldn't push them because it's voluntary. And if they change their mind, we'll go knock at their door. We are not embarrassed of doing that. So we are continuing our effort. So we are moving on to industrial structure now. I'm looking at the watch. So in 1979-80, when I did the first field study, there were 43 industrial units. And now only 4 of those units are surviving or functioning still. We don't know what happened in between because we didn't go there. And the rest are new units. And the old units are Dhampur Sugar Mill, of course, and Dharam Prakash Agarwal Bhatte Wale, and Janki Sharan Wood Industry. And Janki Sharan has now split into 2 in 3rd generation. And it's now Janki Sharan Sushil Kumar and Janki Sharan Sunil Kumar. So 2 units. So I call them 4 units from the previous time. All other industries are new. And there are new kinds of industrial activity as well. So net increase in the number of industrial units, in my opinion, is a very good indicator of industrial vibrancy. Many of these industrial units are being established by new entrepreneurs, new money coming in. It's not like expansion of industrial activity of existing industrial families. That means there is capacity to take risk and set up industries from different kinds of people who have no industrial background in their family. So it is a new kind of entrepreneurship and capital formation taking place in a small town. So it's a happening small town, say. So sugar mill has not only survived, it has transformed itself. It's now Asia's largest sugar mill in terms of its cane crushing capacity. So it is a great thing for Dhampur residents, and Asia's largest sugar mill is located in their town. It now uses modern labor saving devices and less polluting technology. I was very surprised to find that although the production has increased almost 16 times, number of workers has remained the same, about 1,200 at both points of time. So in a way, we can say they're not doing well in terms of employment generation, but they are increasing production and making profit and diversifying. So earlier, Dhampur Sugar Mill had 2 subsidiary or ancillary industries. They used to make craft paper and straw board using the bagasse, the waste material. And now they use this waste material to generate electricity. It is totally dependent on this renewable energy produced by them. And some surplus of that energy goes to Dhampur Breed, that's the industry next door, just across the road in Pallewala. They have now diversified into making ethyl acetate and ethanol, as well as country liquor. So earlier they used to send all their molasses to liquor manufacturing units elsewhere. And I think they have one liquor producing unit somewhere else, but there has been division of family business. So it's not with this family unit anymore. So they make their own alcohol. I haven't tried that though, how good it is. Their country. They didn't offer it to me. So changes in the industrial structure of Dhampur. Broadly, I will go on to the next slide. I don't know if you can read it. Is it readable? But then there are 4 patterns that I have come across. How industries have performed in these 4 decades. One is industrial expansion. That means that group of industries have expanded. And the most prominent in this group of industries is food products and wood products and metal products. And metal is an industry, food continues to be sugar. And the new kinds of sugar products that have been added are things like bakery products, namkeen banana, and processed food products that Dhampur Green makes, which is based on good and other ingredients like peanuts and chana and so on. So this group of industries has expanded. There is second group of industries that has declined. In the decline is paper-related products and printing and paint brushes and non-metallic mineral products. They used to be sulfur and lime industries earlier, because earlier industries used to use sulfur and lime for cleaning the sugar. And now there is a trend to make sulfur-free sugar. So that industry has gone out of business. And cold storage is also closed down completely. Paint brushes, they used to be business here, but now it's only located in Sherport, not in Dhampur anymore. So non-metallic mineral products again are, I think, lime, sulfur, and microabrasives. There was one microabrasive unit earlier which closed down, and a new one has come up now, and also a cement-based industry which makes concrete blocks, creative concretes, has come up in this category. Transformation of industries. There are 2 examples here. Those are very interesting. It's in textile. Earlier, Dhampur used to have handloom producing units with hired workers as well. And they used to make towels, bed sheets, etc. And also dress fabric, but mostly towels and bed sheets. And now that industry has closed down as handloom-based industry, but 4 large cooperatives have been set up, which are khadi cooperatives. So the headquarters is in Dhampur, but the production and processing takes place all over in the surrounding areas, which is spinning, weaving, printing, dyeing. Dyeing and for dyeing and printing, sometimes they send it to Meerut for better activity. But spinning and weaving is always in rural areas, often done by women. And sometimes it's family labor, they work together. Machinery and equipment also is very interesting case. We do case histories of these industries. Earlier, they were small implement making units. They used to make at best Khansari unit or Kolu systems for cane brushing systems. But now they have moved on to making higher order machinery while supporting the sugar industry. They are now making turbines, which go to BHEL on regular basis. So this I call transformation. Industry is there, but its shape and production processes change completely. Then there are new industries that were not there before, and that include plastic bags, leather footwear, electricity and gas. Only one unit, which is Dhampur Sugar Mill, is making electricity. Electrical bulbs, fans, and beverages, which are soft drinks and packaged water as well. So these are new industries. Industrial linkages. We in this section, we are still processing data. So we're just going to share with you 2 or 3 broad results, and more detailed analysis we will do later and share with you later. So we have analyzed industrial linkages of industries located in Dhampur, not only in terms of input-output linkages, but also labor and capital linkages. Where do workers come from and where does the money come from? So the regional base of industrial workers at 2 points of time, there is a change. That is, more workers are now coming from Dhampur town and Dhampur tehsil, and less workers are coming from outside the state. How do we explain this? So there are two explanations in my opinion, and I think to some extent I am quite right, that earlier the large industries or many industries used to employ labor from outside, particularly sugar mill, from other state and other districts so that they will not get organized. So they would be segregated, they live in different colonies, and they don't have that regional connect to be able to organize. So that was a conscious policy of the sugar mill. Second reason is that those workers who came from outside earlier, many of them have settled in Dhampur. So they have now become Dhampurwalas. Particularly in sugar mill, now there is a policy that they will give job to one family member of a worker after the other person retires, the older person retires. So we have met some workers and we have interviewed them whose third generation is working in the sugar mill now. So those are the people who have settled in Dhampur. Now they don't go to Bihar or Eastern UP where they come from, but they do visit. So the regional base of industrial workers has changed over time. Nature of employment in the industries of Dhampur also is changed somewhat, that very surprisingly where contract labor and insecure employment is increasing, in Dhampur all year permanent employment has increased. This is explained by the nature of industries that have come up. Earlier, perhaps, we have not looked at it comparatively, more industries were seasonal, and now more industries are all year round type, because you remember, new kinds of industries have come up. So there is some explanation there. And then there is also change in policy framework. I mean, you have to give facilities to industrial workers, and I think it has had an impact on Dhampur industrial workers' employment. Movement of industrial workers during off-season. As I said, some of the industries are seasonal. Dhampur sugar mill itself is seasonal. And earlier, in the earlier time, when people said go back to the village, it meant going back to the village in UP and Bihar, because if we break down that number, now we will see they are going back to the village within the tehsil. That means there are local workers. There are not that many outside workers coming, and that we have already seen. This is also because some of the factories, even when they are not, and sugar mill, is giving a retainership to workers in the off-season much more than they did before. So this is another explanation for people staying in the town or going back to the village nearby where they are living now, or very few small number go to other towns to find employment, which is now a little bit more than what it was in the 70s. This is, at the moment, it's all industries, but sugar industry is a very large chunk of our sample, so it predominates. So out of our industrial survey, Shubham, how much is from sugar mill and how much from? How much is our sample? No, how much is our sample from Dhampur sugar mill versus other units, other industries?
It's like more than 80%.
So 80% our sample is from sugar mill, 20% from other industries. So our results are influenced by that sample size. Now, nobody asked me, what about women? Because we did not disaggregate our data by male, female, because there are hardly any female industrial workers. So very few industries employ women. So the total sample, 1653, of that, only 5% are women. So sugar mill employs women, and there are 8 women employees, and they do mostly cleaning work. And for gender diversity scheme, they were forced to employ women, and they employed 24 women workers, and they are in office jobs, white collar jobs, but not factory work. And Dhampur sugar specialty employs 50% of their work, sitting next to me, 50% of their workforce. They have 60 workers at the moment, at the time when we did survey, and 50% of them, 30 were women. And this is a conscious policy, and many, you would be pleased to know, are from socially disadvantaged groups, like divorced, separated, single mothers who need help, and their income is very important for bringing up their children and families. Possible explanation for this kind of employment pattern is hesitation on part of women. They think factory work is hard, we'll have to work with men, families don't like it, so they hesitate to look for work. And hesitation on part of entrepreneurs is that they don't know how to ensure security of these women when they come to work in the factories. And they also think factory work is heavy and they need male labor for higher productivity. Very clear choice made by the entrepreneurs. Now we are going to after the labor, we are going to source of capital, where the capital came from. And we have in our analysis seen both sector and region, but at the moment we have only analyzed sectoral data. So of the 43 industrial units, 18 units had initial capital investment coming from trade. 8 units had a combination of trade and some kind of industrial investment. They pre-invested in another industry. 6 units came from agricultural and professional savings, and 2 units came up from artisanal industries. They moved up to larger industry. And 9 units have multiple combinations. But in 2023-24, that's the data we are looking at, the picture has become much more complex because so much government and bank credit is available that they use part of their savings, but a large chunk of investment is coming from borrowing. State-supported, subsidized borrowing and borrowing from the bank for initial capital, and they also get credit facilities from bank for running the industrial units. It's called CC scheme, credit card, cash credit, yes, cash credit. So they get a card, say 5 lakh rupees cash credit card, and whenever they need money, they withdraw that much, and when they return, their credit goes up to 5 lakh again, for instance. So share of personal savings has gone down in industrial investment, and borrowings has increased tremendously in the current time in Dhampur. That's a very interesting shift. Technological linkages, it was very hard for us to examine which industries are related to each other in terms of exchange of input-output within Dhampur. That means is there manifestation of agglomeration economy that industries will locate close to other units from where they are buying material or selling their output. So we came across two groups of industries because we had to have same group of industry at both points of time to be able to compare. So one is Dhampur sugar mill, and they were linked to refined sulfur, refined lime, coal cake making, fertilizer making, packaging material, and machinery and parts. From machinery parts, refined lime, refined sulfur, they were buying inputs, and they were selling inputs to coal cake making, fertilizer making, and packaging materials. Now that relationship has changed because structure of industry itself has changed, and the use of their output or semi-finished product have also changed. So now they're only buying machinery and parts locally, and they're selling to wood-based producing units, to Dhampur grain, and chemical making units. There's one chemical making unit that they are selling some output to. So the nature of interdependence between the industries has changed drastically, and that is because the structure of industries has also changed. Go back. I think the other group was wood industry and a relationship between wood and furniture making, because furniture making has expanded, but we couldn't establish direct link between one unit selling to another because the wood planing industry and sawing industries selling wood to the market, the Lakshmi Mandi, and manufacturers are going and buying from there rather than buying from wood industry. But there is a relationship there. Spatial linkages of Dhampur sugar mill. Again, we have only looked at those industries that were functioning at both points of time. Here, there are some changes in terms of buying raw materials. Earlier, it was restricted to within the district largely, and some neighboring districts were in Western UP for buying material. But now they're also buying material from other states, and this is because they have gone into alcohol making. And for alcohol making, they buy grain from other states, from within the district and tehsil, and also from other states. In terms of sale of output, at both points of time, they're supplying all over the place, even outside India. They were exporting sugar even before, and they do so now. But another new way of selling is online platform, which wasn't there. And also, some of it is being consumed within the house to make electricity, and they sell surplus to the UP state electricity grid. So that's where a new sale avenue has appeared. Machinery and equipment also, there is a change in, and this has existed in both points of time. There is a change in the input purchase and output purchase sale has changed tremendously because they were earlier supplying directly to all parts of district, tehsil, and other states of India. But now they only sell to Dhampur town, and the contractors or middle people come and buy from Dhampur, and they supply in bulk turbines or whenever required to other states of India, largely to BHEL. And this is a change in regional relationship and linkages of the implements and equipments and parts industries. And they made sugar mill, sugar Hansari machinery, as well as other machinery. Earlier, they were making household implements and cane crushing machinery and parts. So now they're making other kinds of machinery as well. So now we don't have time.
Yeah.
Shall we stop here and not talk about villages now, because that will take at least 10 minutes. So let's
Yeah,
stop
I
here.
can continue.
Can I just run to conclusion?
Yes.
I think concluding remarks and just a few, if you would allow me. So it's just summarizing that industrial structure of Dhampur has indeed undergone big transformation, but there are still challenges for future urban industrial growth of the town. And the two challenges are inadequate and irregular electricity supply and no direct rail connection with Delhi. Everybody said, मैडम जी दिल्ली में है करवा दीजिए ना वैसे मैंने कहा मेरा इतना इंश्योरेंस नहीं कि हम आपके यहाँ ट्रेन पहुंचा देंगे किताब लिख लूंगी then industrial linkages of Dhampur are difficult to analyze because new kinds of industries have come up. But we asked many people we interviewed, where do you see Dhampur will be in 20 years from now? And everybody across the board said Dhampur will become a bigger city. I don't know, somebody, I don't remember the person who said one day it will become a metropolis. I thought that was a bit ambitious. So it has become very dense town now, and it's expanding outwards. And they said this trend will continue. It will continue to grow outwards, and it will become a more important trade center in the region, providing different kinds of services as well. As I said before, medical services provided by Dhampur is used by even neighboring districts. It's very important. So, references we don't have to. And I'd like to say thank you very much. We call ourselves Dhampur warriors, and that's Anna sitting in the middle, who is not with us at the moment, but she's listening online, and the three of us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Pushpa, for this very extensive, intensive, and detailed, presentation. And before I invite questions from the participants, I would like Mr. Saurav Gupta, who is also resident of Dhampur and an entrepreneur, to share his reflections and experiences and what did he think about the stock. Over to you, Mr. Saurav. Saurav. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. It's something like an honor to be here with you all, and it's like an honor to be with you all. I thought it to be a very serious, very deep, when ma'am tells policy research, I mean, it sounds like as if some kind of, US and UK. I have some friends who work in Bill Gates policy advocacy group and all that. They manipulate governments. I got very scared. I thought, and then second thought comes is like should not be like a communist kind of thought process. Ma'am's background of JNU and all that. That's second worry to me, because somehow a lot of parents gone into that line. I come from a technical education kind of background, and whoever has felt more socialist, they have gone to become communist thought process, and we often have a fight, small. So what? It's an honor that she did so much of study on Dhampur. I wish a lot of good things which can be drawn from it. A lot of good things like how and what a city should do to be relevant 40 years henceforth, which is very, very difficult to predict. But what led to what is, I think, a very significant finding in this, can be a very significant finding from this study. If you want, I can tell you how a common man's or a child, like I was a child when you did your first study, and second study, I had already been an entrepreneur from the town. I can tell you it was, when I was growing up, it was a very cute, small little town. Only thing unique it had, which you can corroborate with a lot of findings in this study, was it had very high number of schools and colleges for that time. So my parents would send me to Kolvin Talukadars. There was nice school in UP. I went to Doon school for 6 months. and I'll come back, run back to Dhampur in Diwali break, typically Diwali break, and I'll plan in a manner that my grandfather won't send me back to the hostel because I hated that hostel life, and I loved my life in Dhampur because a lot of kids, a lot of playgrounds. Our house was in the center of the town. We had a big playground within our house, so whole children will collect there every evening and we'll play. One thing which I like to mention, till I went to till I heard about this Mandal Commission thing, we didn't know what's a caste or what's a religion of a person. Whether it was any person from any religion, like we had kids. My principal was a Muslim lady, Alima ma'am, and we had very high number of Muslim girls and boys studying in our schools. And I had almost every friend was a Muslim because I was fond of playing or something, and they had more energy to play with. So I always found that it's a nice thing to have a competing guy playing badminton or cricket or something. So it was such a nice town from that point of view, and all those schools and all those Muslim ladies, a lot of ladies were principals in those schools. That led to higher incidence of education of girls, and with compared to the boys, and girls did very well onward to become professionals, like doctors or architect or engineers. So that's the reason why Dhampur has very large number of doctors, and most of them are lady doctors. There are some men also, but predominantly ladies doctors, engineers, and everything, which is very amazing for a small town like Dhampur, which is 60% Muslim population. So this was one thing which I noticed as I was growing up. When I came back from my studies, I used to feel very appalled at the state of farmers and women workers. So our family runs about 5 CSR schools in Dhampur. There was a mad scramble to be appointed as a teacher or something in those schools. And those schools, because they would charge children like 200 rupee fee, so the salary these schools could pay to a teacher was so less. Still, there was crazy thing, like my father would be troubled morning till evening by people, or there'll be a crowd of people outside our house to be appointed as the teacher, just a teacher in a school. So I felt that there are two things. So farmers sell their produce to mediator, and we are a very large farmer in that area. We would sell whatever we'll produce, even high value crops like fruits or vegetables to a mediator who will bring it to second mediator, Muradabad or someplace. That guy will bring it, if quantity is really large, to Delhi. So ultimately, suppose we grew for a very long period papayas. So these papayas we'll sell for 2 rupees a kg. And because our vehicle is not coming all the time, sometimes suppose we have to buy those papayas in Delhi, it's 20 rupees a kg. So can you imagine 10x? So how a farmer was squeezed there? Same thing was for every other agriculture commodity. So I thought of setting up this unit which will connect farmers to the consumer and get rid of all the mediators. So we focused only on those very low processed, very low industrial input required, convert into a direct consumption product. So that's what this Dhampur green unit is. Second problem was men folks, they were very less hardworking. They were drinking. Whatever money they'll get, they'll drink, not take it to home. And so a lot of wives, my parents would complain that there are now too many liquor shops in the town, which were not there earlier. So slowly and slowly, we decided to get rid of all the male folks. Actually, when I think now you'll go to Dhampur, our factory has now almost 90% women. Even the managers, even the security is now women. So there is no disturbance or security issue with the women workers. And they feel very proud. They are covered by, I think, 3 or 4 TV channels now. And some of them are now like talk of the town, They're like, they walk like with a lot of pride and like heroines of the town. I tell them heroine because they're all like, if you see their photos, I can show how they were when they joined us 5, 7, 10 years back. Barely skin on the bone, and how they look now. Healthy. Yeah, happy, smiling. They're not scared. They're not putting the pallu around and all those kinds of things, trying to be in a burqa or something like that. They're open, confident, they're working. If you ask them question, they'll reply you back blank, luck. Not like, earlier you try to ask them a question, they'll shy, they'll smile, they'll walk away. They'll think that we are trying to be mischievous with them or something. No, nothing. They're very confident. Shubham, you have to observe that. Go and try to argue with them. They'll really give you like a tough
Someone
time.
doesn't argue with even men.
Oh. Challenge them on something. This guy is really amazing. He's very persuasive, very persuasive. When he called me first few times, I thought it's just one of the like cold calls. I can shoo them away. But then he started sending messages, long messages, Hindi messages, English messages. And then I decided that I have to meet this guy. So some more findings I can give you some if you are interested. I can give you some of the things, missing things in the findings. What could be the reason? So the drop in industrial production, what you saw there. So there was a time when Dhampur had a lot of small scale industry. A lot of like you said about cold storages, flour mills, rice mill. At some point of time, they all became obsolete, or they became very large capacities. So the smaller capacity died out. Or third situation was when the next generation didn't come back after study. Whoever went up like outside Dhampur to study engineering or something like that, a lot of people went abroad and they never came back. So that was one reason. Then about the doctors thing, I already explained that we have a lot of women doctors in Dhampur, lot of women doctors. So all these people, they receive a lot of money from Gulf. Each family has one guy, young guy working in Gulf. They receive this big money every month, like maybe 2 lakh or 1 lakh month, and which is a very large money for Dhampur. So Gulf, they go to Middle East, work as a carpenter or something. Most common thing is carpenter and masonry work. And they get money which they almost repatriate 100% to their families in back home. It's not like some other caste or some other religious people who do not repatriate money. These people who go from Dhampur, whatever money they earn in Gulf, Middle East, they repatriate to their families. So families do two things only. Either they make a big house, which you can notice. Yeah. So you can survey this kind of thing. A lot of these big houses, one of the family members is working outside India. Or they put that money into the education of their children. So all these children go to join some engineering college or medical college or some such thing, professional courses which cost a lot of money. So this is one very interesting thing in that area. Then about the, I already explained the pain point of workers. A lot of workers used to come from outside because local workers, there was an impression that they don't work very hard. But we have cracked that by employing women workers. We have not employed people from outside Dhampur or outside the district, like from far off places. We employed women. They work very hard, very hard. Their output is very high. And they another beautiful thing is, if there is a tough work to do, they have a very nice cooperative thing among themselves. Like suppose, though it's not expected out of them, suppose they have to lift a bag of 25 kg. And moment they see, like another woman notices that this one is finding it difficult to lift, immediately to rush to them. This I didn't find in the men worker. They'll not like cooperate. I mean, they'll not team up. These guys, you don't have to explain them. They team up. Like they're supposed to print stickers. Those on the products. I can show you some of the products. They use labels. So labels have to be printed. with dates and expiry date and all that. And this required in a very sophisticated, like a machine, which is operated by a computer. Some of the women workers, they don't know how to read English. So the other one, they quietly come and they don't try to show off that we read English or anything. They immediately check the date and tell her you're making one mistake in the date or the alphabet or something. And automatically it corrects, It's so nice. Like, so this is what another thing we have found. One more, I think you have to cover. One more thing in the study you have to cover is the number of schools and education institution and how they have flourished in that area or why they have flourished. So much schools and whole district, they send their children to Dhampur or girls to Dhampur for study. This is like, there is a girls degree college, which is unique to the district, which got established as almost the first women degree college in the whole district. So this you have to meet the principal and understand what is it. This is what my observation was on the study. But it's a very interesting study, and I think this must be replicated after another 40 years.
अगर आप फंडिंग देंगे तो हम कर देंगे.
Funding तो बिल्कुल है. Funding to God willing, we'll do very well because we are doing very well.
Yes.
Our products are moving very fast. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh, for sharing and pointing out what else can be done in Dhampur. Okay, finally, I open the floor for the questions. Any questions from the room? Yeah.
Take the mic. We can move this mic around. Because it's being recorded.
First of all, thank you very much. A very interesting presentation on a small town. And I think this is the story of India, which is happening now. Many small towns all over India is growing very rapidly. One of the question I had was, given the history and the way the industries have grown, I was very curious to know, is there an association of group of industries which collaborate in this area? Do you have an association of?
Predominantly no.
Okay, so
No such industrial body or something.
informal association of?
Nothing.
So there's no relation between one industrial unit and the other.
Predominantly no. As such, town is very, very closely linked. So everybody cooperates. And everybody knows everything. But there is no association per se.
Okay. Thank you.
One question.
Mic ले लीजिए आप, उसको on
Yeah,
करिए.
yeah. This is, you said women's participation outside is very much apparent in informal sector, in shops and all that. But tell me if you came across any self-help groups of women.
Can we take 2 or 3 questions?
Yes,
and
yes,
then-
yes.
then-
That would be better.
And whether for Mudra loan, whether you came across any such instance.
Can take one more question.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. So earlier you'd mentioned, a significant presence of e-rickshaws, or as they're known as mini metros in Dhampur, which also sort of corroborates with our findings from the recent household consumption expenditure data, which reveal the striking uniformity in terms of a high penetration of auto rickshaws across urban settlements. But having said that, we also see a growing sense of antagonism, which is directed towards popular transportation or informal transportation in rapidly urbanizing settlements. For instance, the conflicts between e-rickshaw drivers and RWs in Delhi, the fact that auto drivers are also legally restricted from entering South Bombay, and the implications of these disputes are often disproportionately borne by low-income drivers and low-income commuters who are not in a position to afford formal transportation. So can you help us understand how residents of small towns like Dhampur perceive informal transportation and what economic and regulatory factors shape these perceptions? And lastly, if you can briefly comment on how informal transportation contributes to worker productivity and the larger industrial output in Dhampur.
You want me to do another thesis, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, oh,
That's it, the bigger shops, number of bigger shops. It is- I knew why the trucking store there.
but excise duty is very high in UP. So I carry my supply with me.
First of all, congratulations, Pushpa. It's very good. It's 45 years of journey from 2017 or 1997, 79.
70, yes.
79 to 2007. Yeah, that 22. What I'm seeing from your presentation is demographically, it has grown by about 3.2, 3.3%. It used to be 25,000, now it is not close to 95. There's tremendous amount of industrial diversification, which is amazing for a town of this size of 5,000 going up to 90. But that is really not, there cannot be the sole explanation for the kind of diversification that Dhampur has gone through over these 40 years. There must be some underlying reason that explains the diversification. And Pushpa's chart from sugar mill based one to present one which really is a highly diversified economic structure. I do not know whether there is some underlying factor which has led to this kind of a diversification. More so when it is not on the Delhi line, it is not on Mumbai line, it is not so well connected as one would have thought. This is the second point that comes to my mind. Thirdly, I find that socially, it seems to be a very interesting town. The role of women, as you keep repeating again and again, and the rise of the number of women, female doctors, is also one of those features that you normally do not come across in other towns of these sizes. So I'm seeing the question that really came, how many such small cities are going through a similar transformation of the kind that Dhampur is going through? Is it a common phenomenon, or Dhampur comes out as a very isolated, very special case, building on the sugar mill entrepreneurship which existed when Pushpa started her work in 1979? These are the immediate thoughts that occurred to me when I was listening to Pushpa and also Mr. Saurabh Gupta, both. Thank you very much. These were just very quick comments.
Otherwise, I would suggest you.
Oh.
The first group about, although you didn't address the question to me on industrial association, I don't think there is a local association, but many of the industrialists present in Dhampur are members of the Industrial Association of India. So in some ways, they are connected to countrywide or district state district chapter. But I didn't come across many activities of that association taking place in Dhampur. So I don't know whether it's because of the scale of industry, because many of the nations are small and medium, or people do not see it's worth their time to invest in getting development. So I am not sure about it. Girish's question about self-help groups, I have not come across any. There are many women's social groups, and wherever we would go and eat, because we would eat lunch outside and dinner in the hotel, we will see many women coming for kitty. So it's a very kitty town. It's a town with surplus money to spend, and money even women have, and they go out and they meet each other and they have a good time. and I talk to some of them and they do it once a month. Mudra loan, no. And I do not understand why. So they are taking, I think, loan from banks, as I said. But it could be because credit is being shoved down on them. We were sitting with one of the industrialists one day, Anil Goel, and he got a call. His son came and said, "Papa, आपको लखनऊ बुला रहे हैं." So he said, "क्यों जाऊंगा लखनऊ में? तो अभी बिजी हूँ." वो चेक दे रहे हैं जी योगी साहब. So he was calling, the chief minister was calling industrialists and saying, "I am going to distribute this much loan. I have a target," and they were invited to come to the state and take a check. So money has become easily available and through different sources. So I'm not sure about Mudra loan. Gurkirat, your question about informal transport and its relationship with other modes of transport. There is no other mode of transport in Dhampur. That's the only mode of transport. E-rickshaws go in narrow lanes. If I had time, I would have shown you pictures. The city center is, the street is hardly, I think, 20 feet, not more. And narrow lanes are 10 feet. And e-rickshaws are the ones that go there, nothing else, not even cars. And from point to point, say from Nagina Chowk, where our hotel is, it's a big chowk, people will take intercity bus. So there is intercity bus of state transport, but there is no bus for the city. So informal transport is the only transport, and the regulatory system for it is licensing and health check of the vehicle, I think once every 2 years, and you have to pay a price. Your comments on Dhampur town are very valid. These are good observations. But your question about how many small towns are going through similar kind of transformation, I would not be able to answer because one had to look at larger number of towns and do a bigger study to be able to answer your question. But the towns that we pass by and all the towns we have been to in Dhampur, in Bijnor district, and there are 4 big towns, Bijnor district headquarters, Najibabad and Sherkot, and I think these are the big towns. Najibabad and Dhampur, of all the about 10 Nagarpalika Parishad, 10 or 11, they are more happening than other towns. So within the district also, not all small towns are growing like Dhampur and Najibabad. So it's not a general pattern, I believe. But I do not have data on large number of towns to be able to answer your question.
Can I add one thing on the last question?
Okay.
So, Dr. Mathur, I think your question about entrepreneurship, that's what I'll take. Like, what led to this much entrepreneurship or diversified entrepreneurship in Dhampur? I would say somewhere I think education is responsible. People are I feel Dhampur people are far higher educated compared to similar towns in other parts of district or state. This is
in relation to other towns that are educated.
Traditionally, they have very high.
very high incidence of schools, very high incidence, and people treated them like a very good cause, like to invest or to put their money into. So anybody who wanted to put their money into a good cause, they would start a school or they'll donate some money to a school. And a lot of prominent people in the town, they devote their energy and all kinds of things towards the school. If you'll find, like, almost every good family is supporting
at least two, like becoming a member of the management committee or some member of a school, 1 or 2 or 3 schools. And barring couple of education institutions, all of them are run very charitably. I mean, with good cause. Not really, they're not very highly managed or highly highly professional teaching staff or something. Very basic infrastructure. Literacy rate, yeah. And sheer number of students, and that kind of effect of having a kind of bigger peer group, it pushes them to work harder. This is what happened with me, at least, actually, because I was pitched against, say, 11 student in the same school who scored first division. That time first division was good enough, not like today's world, where 90% is not good enough. So first division was good enough. An entire district had, I think, some 13 first divisions in my 10th class, and Dhampur had 11. So, and similar comparable results in class 12th, like.
Yes,
Yeah.
education, yes. Right.
Okay, we'll take couple of questions and then we'll come back. That's the question today. Okay, there are a couple of questions from Barbara. Can I ask Barbara if you would like to unmute and ask the question? This is Barbara. She is. Should I read out the question? So Barbara is asking, what is the model of Mofussil urbanization that Dhampur even never conforms to or no longer conforms to?
7 to 8 questions. Ooh, she has worked on small towns. She's the author of the Arnie story.
Can you read out the question? Okay. Should I? Okay. Okay, let me ask the first question. Barbara, if you like to unmute and ask your questions, or should I read out? Okay.
You have to unmute from here.
I think we are on. Oh, Arnas, can you unmute? Just ask. Yeah. Has she? Hello? Okay. Barbara, would you like to ask your questions? I think she's still muted,
She's there.
but she's mute.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hey, hi, yeah.
Hi, Barbara.
Hello. Thank you very much for a really fascinating lecture, and also for Mr. Gupta's reactions and comments. They were tremendously interesting. So I put into the Q&A a number of reactions, and don't expect you really to reply to all of them, but they represent the potential richness of trying to study Mofussil India and Mofussil urbanization. And you have made a big contribution to that, because I think it's actually a very big neglected field. So I have 7 points. Would you like me to read them out?
You can ask one question. I'm sorry, I was a bit rude.
Yeah, okay, I'll read out. So the first question is, what is the model of Mofussil urbanization that Dhampur either never conformed to or no longer conforms to? Okay, and I'll read out her last question, which is the, I will, yeah, I mean, I'll just read out, is the urban labor force disproportionately Dalit? Okay, and how many entrepreneurs or farm owners are Dalit? And another question, is the economic structure polarized? What is the role of petty production, trade, service, finance? Only 4 of the original forms survive, so risk and loss characterize this economy as others. You have focused on innovation, but what are the risks and uncertainties in this economy to small firms multiply? I'll go on reading. Okay. How does municipality cope with the spread of urban economy outside its boundaries? How does it cope with tax evasion and irregularity? What proportion of public spending in the town depends on state central government transfers, and what is locally mobilized?
Carefully.
And does Dhampur have business associations? If so, how do they relate to the caste structure of the town and to the party politics? And how is the urban material base, energy, land, water, agriculture, minerals, and other raw materials for the built environment and the economic organized or economy organized? And the last question is, what is the research design confined to industry when trade, services, finance, infrastructure, utilities, and waste disposal define the urban base and the future is anticipated to be in trade? Okay, these are all her 7 questions. If you want to respond to a couple of these.
I think I will do that. Sorry about that, but I think the 7 questions from one person is really difficult to deal with. I know all the points you have raised are very interesting and they require another seminar where I could respond to, but I will respond to 2 of your points. The first one and the community background of labor and entrepreneurs. I think these are interesting questions. I may look at the municipality's role as well. So, model of municipal town. Right from the beginning, I have said Dhampur is not Mofussil. It was a happening town even when I studied this 4 decades ago. So I don't know what is a model of Mofussil town that you refer to. It's something I wouldn't be able to answer because it's an economically vibrant, growing town and provides good services like education and health, not only to the town, but surrounding areas. So that's something I wouldn't be able to answer. But regarding Dalit labor, SCST, as we call them, we do not call them Dalit anymore. That's a politically incorrect word to use in the contemporary political system in India. So SCST population in industrial labor force is small. In fact, in our labor survey, we have come across SCST workers more as casual wage workers, whereas regular employees are more in permanent jobs. So there is a division and there is a disadvantage that continues. We also tried to look at other backward category workers, but since this category was not there in the previous study, we didn't know how to put it, in which category can we put it, because we are comparing data from 1970s to now. So consciously, we have put OBC as an investigation question, but while analyzing data, we are not sure whether we should combine it with SCST or combine it with general population. It's a question that we will deal with it after discussion with other people. The role of municipality, the Nagar Palika Parishad, is interesting because the municipality does not do anything for urbanization taking place outside the municipal boundary. They continue to provide services and collect taxes within the municipal boundary, and village panchayats of the area actually takes care of the urbanizing area that is all around the city. And there is, since panchayats don't collect property tax, there is no tax collection. But sometimes they are taking a service charge, these panchayats, to provide basic services, but there are no services being provided, although everybody has got a tap connection, a water connection, but nobody is picking up garbage, even in municipality. And that's a huge question, that the service delivery, basic service delivery, is poor in this very happening town where there is higher education, income levels are high. We have not been able to assess unemployment rate, but we did go to the labor chalk where workers come and stand at Nagina Chalk to find a daily wage work. And we did find that, say, out of, say, 50 workers standing there, not more than 20 will get work in a day. So there is an unemployment rate in the municipality. Other than this, I think I take your comments for further thinking and maybe incorporate some of those comments in the study, and we shall be able to answer those later on.
There's one more question from Amita Bhide. Again, Amita, would you like to unmute and like ask your question? Amita, it is.
She's not able to.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Pushpaji, I first wanted to really congratulate you for such a detailed presentation, also especially about the sharing of details linked to the methods. I think it was very, very interesting, and really thanks for that. Very, very insightful. Okay. But my few questions are really prompted just by that. So one was really linked to this entire aspect of the social base of Dhampur, because one really didn't hear anything much about that other than the entrepreneurs. And just now you talked a little bit about the profile of laborers, right? But in terms of this prosperity of the town, how general is it? Or because the widespread impression is that these small towns have a large amount of poverty, right? So I think one would be like to understand both the social and the economic basis and distribution within Dhampur. The second aspect was really about the citizen and government relations and local government, in fact. And just now, when you say ki the municipality hardly ever does anything and provides very little basic services, then my question is ki, how do the entrepreneurs then are able to maintain the competitiveness of the town? Right? You would require a minimal amount of services, water, electricity, you said was already a problem, and that perhaps is at a state level regulation. But then at the local level, you do require some support. So, what is that relationship? What is the nature of that relationship? And the third question was really linked to, again, I am particularly interested also in the history of Dhampur. What accounts for this kind of a progressive educational base of so many girls getting educated and coming, not working yet, right? Because you said that one of your findings was very few women are there in the workforce, right? They would rather go to kitties rather than perhaps work. Hmm? So, given that, what is the social history? Are there particular people who are responsible? Is there a particular combination of factors which is responsible for this? So, that's it. Thank you.
There's one more question from Champaka. I'll just read out this question. Okay, so she's just asking, could you please share any ongoing endogenously driven initiatives on urban and regional planning by or for the city?
So please repeat the question.
Okay, could you please share any ongoing endogenously driven initiatives on urban and regional planning by or for the city? Okay.
Okay. So, Abita, we do have information on economic and social base of the town, but I have not been able to incorporate it in this presentation because I wanted to focus on one part of the study of the book, which is on industries. But when we do in the book, in a profile of the town, we will be talking about it. But one comment in response to how widespread is the prosperity. We do not have data because secondary data is not available, so we won't be able to answer this question in general for the entire town. But we do see poverty. It's not as if prosperity has trickled down to all in the town and around the town in villages. But my observation at 2 points of time that I have seen 40 years apart, I see so much more widespread prosperity that even SC/ST populations, so-called, in villages have houses, they are riding motorcycle, they go and work in town, they don't do cleaning work anymore. So the prosperity has trickled down, but still there is poverty. So how do we understand what explains this duality is something I am not sure at this moment, but at some stage we will be able to answer that question. Citizen government relationship, yes, there is an elected government in place. People do have a voice. Every 5 years they elect a chairperson. And in the core city, the services are better that are provided by the municipality. But in the periphery, in the newly developed urbanizing sections, the panchayats provided services, and there it is much weaker. So there is a difference in the kind of services that are being provided, but the relationship of citizens with the government is as it is in many other towns in India, that you do have complaint redressal, consultation is notional, and response to grievances at times is okay, but at times it's not that efficient. History of Dhampur, yes, I think it will be in my book. We'll be talking about it, but I couldn't bring it up here. It's much more detailed. Going back to Champaka's question, smaller towns do not have a planning division. Municipalities, smaller municipalities, do not have normally a planning division or even a planner. Most of the service planning is done by engineers, which is quite common. But one initiative on planning is for the region, which is the regulated area master plan that has been prepared in 2021 by planners, a planning division in Moradabad, and not by local planners. They did come and conduct the surveys in the town, and it is basically a land use plan. No, it's a map for land use, no infrastructure development, and it is not backed by an investment plan. So it's a plan on paper, which is not uncommon in India.
Okay. We could take one round of questions from the room. Questions from the yes.
Shall I ask the question? You've been saying all along that it's not connected to Delhi or any large city, but it has got these highways coming together.
No, I said not direct rail link with Delhi.
Acha, rail link.
Rail,
But anyway, there are all these highways converging.
yes.
And also it's a very, that region is Ganna region, and then Najibabad is a Katha wala region and all that. So that whole place is very rich agriculturally. So I think probably this whole regional issues in terms of development of industry is something which needs to be brought out much more strongly, I think. Which is
state policy in the early, just pre-independence and the early post-independence period that also supported this kind of industry.
That has been the focus.
So,
but not all towns have benefited from it. So that's a question, follow-up question.
that why did this
Why
prosper
this
and
one
why
has prospered
that
and
is
not others?
one thing.
So
So probably
regional-
you've done it and not presented, but I think that whole thing of looking at this could be something to look at. Second thing which I was wondering is that when you were presenting your data about diversification to other states, like earlier the outputs from industry were going into one state, but then now other states as well. I was wondering to what extent is the formation of Uttarakhand responsible for this? Because earlier the surrounding area, I mean, is kind of hemmed in by Uttarakhand. So is it really going to Uttarakhand, or are there other states also coming into the plan? So I just wonder.
Yes, sure. So, let me just write in to Uttarakhand. Otherwise, I'll forget. Yes, please go ahead.
So, one small point that I wanted to add was the Ganga canals. Probably there's some connection with those Ganga canal investments, which may have happened in agricultural prosperity or anything like that. But my real question was about, can you hear me? I don't have a.
Oh, please take it.
Yeah, so my question was really about the labor dynamics. One very interesting kind of substrand in your presentation for me was how much it overturns the assumptions of kind of high level policy discussion around labor. Because in fact, the nature of the number of permanent jobs has gone up as the economy has grown. It's not more informalization, but permanent jobs. Then there was the assumption that people would want labor to be from other places so that they could not unionize. But now they're all locally embedded and entrenched, and probably are, much more locally entrenched, the labor. And so, plus even things that Saurabh said about his family, he called it CSR, but in fact, his family was investing in schools before there was a formal company law requirement, right? So it's not actually CSR, but
Right.
it's relating to like amicable social relations or worker relations in some ways. So, I found that, it's just a comment. I don't really want you to answer this, but it was just something that I thought was very interesting to me, was how its economic growth is, mirrored by actually, having giving quite a lot of importance to maintaining those relations.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Ma'am, I like to speak in Hindi if you don't mind, because I feel comfortable in that. Right. Ma'am, you made a mention about capacity, crushing capacity of the Dhampur sugar mill down to 16%. I think this is the key point in the
16 times.
16 times, 16, oh, sorry, 16 times. And the industrial complex, 52 numbers have come up over there. Some industries have gone down, some have gone up. And moreover, for example, doctors and teachers number are coming up gradually. That's why town is prosperous, right? Their living standard is gone high. I'd like to draw your attention over here to the fact that 16 times crushing capacity means cultivation, land area in cultivation has increased by 16% in the area. So that the peasantry in the area, the purchasing power has gone up, which is catering to the town. Right? It is, if you take out this what you call this Dhampur sugar mill from there, I don't know what would be left over there. बाकी छोटी मोटी इंडस्ट्री जो उसके बाद में आई हैं, अच्छा उसके छोटी मोटी जो इंडस्ट्रीज के बाद में आती हैं, वो एक सब्सिडरीज है, छोटी छोटी आती हैं, जाती हैं, बढ़ जाती हैं, आती हैं, चली जाती हैं. जैसे मेरा जो मेन क्वेश्चन है मैम, वो सिर्फ ये है इस पर कि एक चीज आपने एक्सप्लेन नहीं की है, मे भी आपको मालूम है, वो ये है कि इसमें कैपिटल एंड लेबर इज इन्वॉल्व, नथिंग गोज विदाउट दैट. यहाँ पर जो लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ द पीपल, 3 कैटेगरीज, द लो, मिडल एंड द अपर मिडल एंड द टॉप क्लास, राइट, इनकी जो लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड है, जो लोग गांव से आके यहाँ काम करते हैं मिलों में और घरों में डोमेस्टिक वर्क करते हैं, ये जो लोग हैं, ये दे आर आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन, राइट. ये 3 कैटेगरीज में अब जिस टाउन में ज्यादातर अपर मिडिल क्लास के लोग मैं देख रहा हूँ जो मुझे नजर आ रहे हैं, तो शहरों में होते हैं, ज्यादातर बिजनेस पीपल होते हैं, दो कैटर ऑफ द लेबर. तो इनके लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड के बारे में कुछ बताएंगे, जो डाउन ऑफ द बॉटम, उनका लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड, जो गाँव से भी आते हैं, सराउंडिंग शैंटीज में भी रहते हैं, उनका जो मिडल एंड अपर मिडल एंड द टॉप क्लास, इनके लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड के बारे में कुछ बताइए प्लीज. थैंक यू.
I have a question from Banashri. Banashri, your question about regional dimension of development in this entire region, it's agriculturally very rich, very prosperous region. So it's happening all over. It's not only Dhampur. It's, you drive, we drive all over, we see very green fields. We have driven in every season. It's a 3-crop producing region, not double cropping. So, and the canal, and Kalagarh Dam, Kalagarh Dam plays a big role. It's irrigated area. Plus, land was, as we go towards Kashipur and beyond, it's big parcels of land, not small. These are big farmers. And closer we go to the Tarai, these are the settlers who came from Pakistan. And when they came here, how land was distributed is very interesting. They said, नापेंगे तो नहीं, ट्रैक्टर लेके जितनी दूर चलाते चला लो, हम उतनी जमीन तुमको दे देंगे. So there are land allocation done as much as you wanted to take or you could handle. So you find big, very efficient farms, very prosperous in the entire region, and that prosperity reflects also in Dhampur. So that's the regional dimension. Of course, there are city level specializations happening in town level. Not everybody is producing sugar, but there are now 11 sugar mills in Dhampur district. So, Bijnor district. So it's the second largest sugar producing district after, I think, Moradabad. So it's a very important industry for the district. So not only Dhampur, the entire region or district and the neighboring districts are sugar districts. Diversification to other states because of Uttarakhand? No. So when we were doing analysis, so we had difficulty in combining other districts and other states. So the business that is going to, or a relationship with Uttarakhand, of course, there is a very strong relationship, and a lot of workers from Uttarakhand come to work in Dhampur as well. We try to combine it with other districts of the previous data. So the hill districts, we combined with other districts. So it was technically a bit difficult, but the business, the relationship with other states is not because of Uttarakhand. That's a clear answer. There is
one very small point.
Okay.
So about the agriculture, like the dependence on the Dhampur sugar mill is concerned. So just for your knowledge, I just Googled, UP produces 1/3 of the total sugar on an average of the country. Out of 1/3 sugar, which is approximately 100 million tons, Bijnor district produces 15% of that. Bijnor district. Each farmer now in Dhampur region has is approached or is close to at least 2 sugar factories, and he can supply his sugarcane to any sugar factory. All sugar factories of district Bijnor have typically gone up in scale 10 times to 15 times. Not only Dhampur sugar mill, all sugar factories. One is owned by Birla Group, one is owned by, so all the sugar factories, and this is the district with maximum number of sugar factories in the whole India. Second highest is only Muzaffarnagar. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So this is what, so dependence on Dhampur sugar mill is not that high now.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, to mix up the whole the issue. I'm not saying this sugar mill or that sugar mill. I think the sugar mill in the area has largely affected the town, right? And that effect, how is it percolated to the population? Population is again divided in divisions. How it reflects on the division? That's my question.
Okay.
I'm not talking about this sugar mill or that sugar mill. Certainly, that has gone 16 times means the peasant has gone very prosperous now. They are purchasing power.
Yes.
Yes.
That's percolating in the town.
Yes.
But what are people getting out of it? That is the point.
Yes. To some extent, I can answer your question. It's based on observation. not on the study because we have not done a household survey in Dhampur town to be able to answer your question statistically. So, but we have done household survey in the 2 villages nearby. So we have looked at the impact of income generation and prosperity of of the industries in the town on the villages. And there we, when we analyze that data, we have not done it as yet, we will be able to answer whether prosperity has trickled down to nearby villages as well or not. In the town, prosperity has increased. There is no shanty town. There is no slum in Dhampur. There are only a few poor families which do not have pakka houses, is near the railway line and the municipal garbage dump. Very small number. There is no slum in Dhampur at all. So it says a lot. It's a small town, and people, poorer people, instead of living in poverty in Dhampur, actually do go back to the villages and work on agricultural field where there is labor work available. So the situation is very different here. We don't see poverty. Does that answer your question? और हिंदी में बोलूं क्या?
There's never end to the
है?
there's never end to the argument.
नहीं, argument है ही नहीं.
This can go on and
नहीं
on.
नहीं नहीं.
But I think it's okay. This is
नहीं
fine.
नहीं नहीं
This is
नहीं. आप खुद जा करके देखेंगे तो आपको दिख जाएगा. अगली बारी फोटो दिखा दूंगी आप.
Pushpa, we have a couple of questions online. A lot of questions are there. Okay, I'll just ask, can you unmute Remy? So, Remy, can you ask your questions quickly?
Remy, the interview.
Can you hear me?
Very much for coming.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, Pushpa, for this wonderful presentation. And thank you to CPR to organize this seminar. So I have 3 questions. You can respond the one you prefer. The first one is about aspirations of the younger generation. Do you know what are the aspirations of the younger, the youth, the younger generation in Dhampur? What are they dreaming about? Leaving Dhampur, or do they think they can have a future there in Dhampur? And what do you think about it, and how do you explain it? The second question is about your catchy title.
Sorry, we're missing it.
It's indeed very
Sorry,
catchy, but
Remy-
is the term Mofussil locally
Remy,
used in Dhampur?
Remy, please repeat. We lost your voice. Please repeat the second question.
The second question is about Mofussil, the term Mofussil. Is it locally used in Dhampur by the local population? And has it been ever used before? And nowadays, how do the population call their town? You know, if there is a locally term which is used to describe the town. And the third question is a little bit more touchy. You are not obliged to respond. But do you have any idea about the demographic balance which has evolved since the 70s between Hindu and Muslim population? Because I am also doing a survey on a small town in the same district, I mean, in Moradabad district, and I was, I was struck because there is, I noticed in the town I'm looking at, a very significant decline in the Hindu population since the 90s. Basically, the Hindu population is leaving the town, while the Muslim population actually in the town I'm looking at has grown steadily. You know, there are more and more Muslim and less Hindu. And I would like to know if you have observed similar trends in the town in Dhampur, and if you can explain why there is more or less Muslim Hindu population in your town. So there is 3 questions. You can answer the one you prefer. Thank you very much.
I'll just add one more question from Sunil Kumar. And he's asking, is what is happening same or different from other industrialized country? Or is there something vernacularly Indian about the change in Dhampur?
Sorry.
Okay, so what is happening in Dhampur? Is it like very peculiar to India, or it is like, comparable to other industrial or developing countries? Okay. And
Okay.
okay. And can I request Shamindra Roy, if you can unmute, and Shamindra, would you like to ask your own question?
I'm in a bus, so if you can read that would be great.
What did he? All right. Just just a second. Yeah. He's asking the question why they didn't increase the municipal limits of Dhampur for this long. I saw the large industries are all outside the municipal limits. Did they consciously choose to keep the industries in the panchayat areas for cheaper land values, etc.? Okay.
Yeah.
Let us respond to these.
Okay, I will respond. Yeah. I will take all three questions. Aspirations of young people, as Saurabh has also said, that now people who are getting educated, higher education, professional education, want to work outside Dhampur because they can get better jobs anywhere in the country and they are moving outside. And this is one of the very big complaint I heard from people we interviewed, the prominent citizens we interviewed, that the children who had higher education don't want to come back and work there. So we came across quite a few elderly parents living alone and complaining about children not coming back. But they said, but we don't want to stop our children's growth. So let them go where they want to go. So aspirations of young, educated people is to go out of Dhampur. That's the negative side of better educational background. Mofussil word is not used locally at all. It is used by academics like us. I would tell somebody in Dhampur, Mofussil town, they say, वो क्या होता है? हमारा तो town बड़ा अच्छा है. हाँ? ये हमारा academics की analysis है. Local it's not a local terminology or local lingo used in Dhampur. Demographic balance, since we didn't have the 2021 census, it's difficult to say which way the demographics are changing, whether Muslim population is increasing or Hindus are migrating out. But my impression is Hindus are not migrating out of Dhampur. Both communities are living there. So, but we won't be able to answer this question unless we have census data, if census is conducted in the near future. Sunil Kumar, your question about comparison with other countries, I think it's very difficult to answer because India is like so many countries. There are variations within India. How do I compare Dhampur with cities in other countries? I can't do that without looking at the data. So difficult to answer your question. Shamindro, industries locating outside the municipal boundary is a very common pattern all over India. And that's largely because availability of large chunks of land and just that industry is required. And those industries cannot locate in the densely populated area of the city. It is not a policy of the municipality. It's a choice of the industrialists to choose a location that works for them. And that's cheaper land closer to a highway where transport connectivity is easy. So it's not a policy of the municipality. I hope I have answered all the questions. And more to come?
Yes, I'll ask a couple of questions again. What is written here? Okay, I'll quickly read out and I'm like briefly reading these questions. There's one question from Kunal Munjal who is asking the local processing industry, technologically backward, in brackets, controlled by local capitalists, has faced contraction in the past 2 decades with the expansion of private mills and their crushing capacities. So what are your thoughts on the present and future of these local sugarcane processing MSME units in the context of private sugar mills expansion in the region? Okay, and this Aparna, she is asking this question, like, how are you helping out farmers by eliminating middlemen? And she's also asking, could you elaborate? Could you elaborate further? Are you also promoting organic farming? Okay. And
I think, wait.
Okay.
Wait, please, wait. Do you want to answer elimination of middlemen first while I think about this bigger question?
Yes, was that Aparna?
yes,
Aparna.
Aparna batch.
Yeah.
Aparna batch.
So typically, yeah, Aparna, how middleman works is very typical. They work like a money machine, you can say. They provide money, or they buy the crop and give the farmer money and typically all these crops are, every crop is harvested in a very narrow time zone, very narrow maturity period, which could be a week, 10 days or something like that. So at that time there is a glut of that particular crop. So the farmer is running to sell it as soon as possible because farmer is already under debt. So he sells it to the guy, whoever is offering him whatever fair price he thinks it is, which barely covers the the cost of production. Barely. Mostly it doesn't cover the cost of production, and farmer never values his own labor, like how much labor he has put into that field, that he'll never value at market value. So this is what happens most of the time. How we prevent that thing to happen is we don't buy anything from, we guarantee farmer a price, a minimum price. That's number one. For whatever we are asking him to produce or whatever we are willing to produce. And we have created 2 self-help groups of farmers and converted most of the farmers into organic farming or organic practices. And for that, whatever money we have to pay to get the certification done, we pay that. And we have collected these farmers in a manner that we made them talk like whatever is convenient for them, they can grow that. And the economic size should be enough for that thing to be processed and sold in a branded kind of manner directly to the consumer. So this is what is done, and lot of time these farmers learn how we are doing it and they start their own venture. And I can tell you that at least there are 3 ventures which I started by farmers. They are selling their product directly to consumers. So this is how the middleman is removed, and farmer typically is getting very, I would say almost 1.5 times or 2 times price for his produce compared to what he was selling it for on an average.
Okay, thank you. So I can answer your question, Kunal. Since number of sugar mills have all increased, and also their crushing capacity has increased, certainly local sugarcane crushing has come down. But still, there is a niche market in India for good and good consumption. So that market. The number of kolus, we call kolus, have gone down in and around Dhampur. Now earlier there were, say, 5 kolus around Dhampur. Now there are 2. And many come up temporarily when the sugarcane crushing season finishes, and sugar mills, they decide that on 23rd of April, we will finish crushing, and there is sugarcane standing in the fields. What do? Immediately temporary kolus come up 10 around the region, and they start crushing the remaining sugarcane. And there is market for good sales. So it's not gone out of business completely. I think that answers your question.
Okay. There's one question from Shamala Mani who is asking, there are like large number of hospitals in Dhampur. Is it also indicative of some occupational, problems, occupational health problems or health diseases? And also she's asking if most of these doctors are general practitioners or OBGs. That's the question. OBGs, I think. Obstetricians. Yeah. And then there's I think this question may be more directed to Saurabh. Glad to know that Dhampur has many schools. Do you know if there is some environment education in schools, say eco clubs? And would you say young people are concerned about environmental issues in Dhampur and what type of local issues? And just last question maybe, Sanskriti. It is from Sanskriti Menon, and she's asking, could you comment on the nature of people's involvement in public governance earlier and now, and how has it changed? And is there more women's participation with rising education and employment of women? Yeah, I think that should be the last one.
I think we are all getting tired. Governance. So, shall I go ahead or do you want to go ahead? Okay, so let me answer Shamla's question. These hospitals that are located here are not responding to local occupational challenges. They are responding to normal medical needs of the people, and people preferring to use expensive private medical facilities rather than going to government hospitals. And that also talks about the prosperity that is there. People have money to buy private medical services. So these are general and as well as specialized medical services. There is not OBGs only. So these are hospitals for eyes, hospitals for liver, hospitals for heart, and or I think all kinds of specialized medical services, and also general practitioners. And also there are mother and child health care, which is required in all towns. So there are wide range of medical facilities. And mind you, they cater to not only towns' need, but surrounding areas as well. Environment education we will take. People's participation in governance is as much as it is everywhere else. There are reservations in elections, and women come on reserved quota. And women are also at the Gram Panchayat level. But there are proxy pradhans that we have met. Women get elected, and when we say we have come to meet the pradhan, one man will come and meet us. I said, are you the pradhan? He said, हाँ, मैं सारा काम मैं ही देखता हूँ. हाँ. Notional there, I think it will take a long time for that to change in India, everywhere. I think, but there, we have come across very active women as well. We are very impressed by government officers we have met, particularly the SDM, Ritudani. She is a firebrand, and she is like a police woman, and she goes on pedal dust, and every time we are going somewhere, we will see her in the street. So she is very, but elected representatives, unfortunately, is a sad story of notional participation of women in governance.
I think, okay. No, yes, the question.
Environment.
Yeah.
Environment.
Yeah. I would say that there is no formal environment education or a school on environment education in that area. But being a city surrounded by canals and riverlets and rivers and tributaries of Ganga and all those things, there is a very high greenery in the whole region. The pollution level, typically when Delhi is when reeling at whatever 40 AQI, 400 AQI, I've seen Dhampur AQI maximum it touches that time is about 9. So, that way I think we are a little protected. Then one more thing which is very interesting and can excite you to visit Dhampur. That's my prime purpose to come here, and I want you all to come to Dhampur. I want to,
And he has a very nice resort, garden resort. So he's selling. He's a businessman,
No, so another thing is that there is Jim Corbett National Park, which is the first tiger reserve or national park in the country. And Jim Corbett, I think all of us are very well aware. So, which is next to Dhampur. We are almost touching it. Dhampur falls within the reserve range, reserve area of Jim Corbett National Park. And there are boards everywhere. People are very proud of it. So we are in general very green area. So if you want to visit, I welcome you. We might get
The resort is called Frozen Woods.
Yes.
And there is also a resort you have in Nainital also, no?
Yes.
Yes, yes. But we didn't talk about one risk when we talk about green area, forested area. When they talked about this, yeah, क्या आता है? Guldar. Guldar का risk.
Yes.
Guldar is
No, it's like a leopard.
leopard.
Little bigger, the smaller version of leopard.
So every time they would be dark and we would be doing survey in the villages, Shubham said, chalo bhai, abhi Guldar aa jayega. And every time we would pass by somewhere, Guldar came yesterday, usko mara, usko khaya. So we used to be quite scared. हमको नहीं मिला और उसमें कई जगह लिखा था watch out for Guldar, watch out for Guldar. So थोड़ा सा risk भी है. मैं तो I have been to so many. हाँ? खा जाएगा बड़ी मुश्किल है but हमको कभी नहीं दिखा. But I tell myself I have been to so many of these national parks and national reserves and so on. I have never seen a tiger or I've never seen a lion. I mean, it's a waste of time. You just go for a drive and come back.
You never know. Maybe tiger is keeping you safe for a very good view.
डरते हैं.
I think we'll continue. I think we don't have any more questions online and from the room. So yeah, finally, thank you. Thank you to Pushpa and Saurabh ji.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.